Neptune transiting the midheaven, or the cusp of the 10th house as we call it. This is a very rare transit, once in a lifetime, usually once in 50-60 years, and it can be seen only if you know your exact time of birth. 4 or 5 minutes difference of your time of birth can give you up to a year of the exactness of this transit happening. Whenever Neptune aspects through any aspect, whether it's the conjunction, which is 0 degrees, the opposition 180 degrees, or square the 90 degrees from the midheaven, the highest point in the horoscope, which signifies your career and worldly actions and vocation, often Neptune wants to dissolve this thing. So often during this 2-year period, while the transit is lasting, usually at the beginning you might start feeling disappointed and disillusioned with your current path in life, with your current career, with your current role in society and the actions that you're doing. And Neptune, it makes us change the direction by giving us disappointment or making us feel disillusioned. Often if we start some career at the beginning of this process, we might have some expectations about this career, but these expectations might not be met, and we might be disillusioned. There might be promises made to us to do with our career, or we might be doing certain projections in our mind and plans which do not come true, because Neptune is very idealistic, and whenever it aspects you to do with your career, it makes you project your own ideas, or either you from the inside project it and want to see and hear whatever you want. So you project your ideals, so you end up disappointed, or others from outside, they promise you things to do with your career or to do with certain activities, which actually don't materialize, and they don't happen, So Neptune, you have to let go of certain things. Neptune wants to teach you to let go, let go and let God. So basically it's a little bit hard to have full control of what is happening in your life while Neptune is sending a hard aspect to the midheaven, and usually you kind of feel swept by currents. And another thing that happens is 10th house signifies our actions. So Neptune dissolves our ambition and goals, and often a person can start feeling like a drifter. They lose the ambition, the association with the career, the drive they had before. They start feeling like they don't have so much organizational power, control over or self-discipline as before, especially to do with their career and worldly actions. They start feeling much more disorganized, and I went through this transit when I was in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, and honestly it was, oh my god, I was sleeping till 12, I was drinking much more. Neptune tends to make you want to escape reality rather than face harsh reality. It wants you to escape. It's either watching too much TV or reading books or fantasizing and daydreaming, having big longings for a big career. Neptune makes you dream big, but it's kind of hard to make these things happen because it doesn't give you the power and the energy to do it. And I was reading a lot of books about the power of imagination. Even if you wish something strongly enough, it will make it happen. So I was just laying around all day and visualizing that I have a new career which is very successful. And of course that's when because I became so disillusioned with my current job that I basically started daydreaming of a bigger, better job. And by that time I was very much into astrology, so this was one of the periods which broke me slowly during the period of 2 years. Disengaged me from my previous career, really made me disappointed and disenchanted with it, and made me long for something bigger and better, because Neptune is a planet of longing, of dreaming, of spiritualizing influence. So person wants something purer, better, more divine, more refined, what is a better expression of themselves. So they tend to dream a lot more about it, but it might be quite hard to make it happen while Neptune is still around, because as I said, this self-discipline and the ambition goes away, or often the person might be even confused as to what is this bigger and better thing they want to do with their life, this bigger role, this better role, this more refined role, more authentic role. The person might be quite confused because Neptune also has the influence of a fog. So it's whenever there is fog, you don't see much ahead of yourself, or you think you see something, you project your ideals, but you end up, you think you're going in some direction, but you end up seeing that it's not the right direction for you. So there might be a few misguided attempts at starting different careers or changing your worldly actions and getting disappointed during this period till you eventually get to your real inspiration, because Neptune's higher vibration is inspirational, it's divine. It comes from the highest realm of the world, of the divine realms, dimensions. You know, even if you don't believe in God, well, then it's a planet of inspiration. So before you get used to its vibrations, probably in the first 1 year or year and a half of its transit, you might be much more confused, but later on you might get the real inspiration about what you have to do. And usually a person can start something successfully during this period as a business if it's a more Neptunian business, if it's something to do with spirituality, if it's business to do with escaping reality, like acting career. Many actors gain fame during Neptune transit to their career or to their career point, which is the 10th house, or to their sun or some other planet. So if it's a creative, artistic, inspirational career as well, it can take off during a Neptune transit. Or anything else to escape reality, which can be even if you want to start a club or a pub to sell booze and drunk, or become a drug dealer, you know. This is the low expression of Neptune, escaping reality the lowest way possible. And the highest is the creative, the inspirational careers, you know. Neptune is as well during this period. Be careful from promises from others, what promises you make as well, because you might promise things, but you might not have the ability, or you might not have the motivation to fulfill those promises after that, because as we said, 10th house is your actions, and Neptune tends to dissolve and disorganize those. So be careful, you know, what promises you make, so you don't mislead others, or you don't get involved in things which are misleading, because Neptune's lowest manifestation is lie, illusion, fog. So don't get involved in anything illegal or a bit dodgy, uncertain. Always read the small print for whatever jobs you are starting during this time, or whatever big activities you're getting involved with. Read the small print, or try and ask for outside opinion from friends who are more objective, because you're quite subjective during this period. As we said, you project whatever you want to see. So ask for outside opinion, so you don't get misled into certain things which are not really right for you, or which might seem right to you on the outside, but actually inside they're a bit rotten or not proper. But even if you have some disappointments or disillusionments, or even if someone makes promises to you and doesn't deliver, and you're disillusioned with those things, don't worry. We learn very great lessons during that time. Neptune make us feel always much more vulnerable, but we come out of this period always the person grows a lot in consciousness after the Neptune transit. Also, Neptunian careers which can be good during this period to start is anything to do with charity and helping others, except artistic, you know, inspirational and escapism jobs. So glamorous job, glamorization, the cinema, the models, it's Neptunian as well. Or you know, but if you are starting a more practical, more realistic business, Neptune, it might be hard to make it happen during this period. Or if it's something more, you know, not so artistic or inspirational, or a con artist. Neptune, you can start a con artist or some sham, you know, scam. But that's the lowest manifestation. We don't want to go there. We're trying to grow as human beings. We're not trying to go down, you know, or become drug dealers or whatever. We want the higher manifestations. And sometimes starting a business which is very like proper business during Neptune, like when you have a lot of accounts and finance and things like that, it might be a bit hard, because persons tend to not pay much attention to detail and to, as I said, project what their desires are, while not having very much realistic expectations. And in some rare cases, actually Neptune, in Neptune you project those longings and you cannot get them to happen, because this is the material world, you know. Things are not as refined as where the energy, the inspirational energy of Neptune comes. So you might have to end up with certain goals and aims that you have, which are, you know, which have been projected and becoming unrealistic. But in the most positive sense, Neptune can actually help you with this dreaming, and this longing that you have can make you form in your head this ideal of what you have to do, and prepare your mind when towards the end of the transit, when Neptune is finishing, to actually be able to put it in manifestations, because at the beginning always person is much more too confused. So Neptune often comes so it can help you envision and increase your imagination, to envision in your head this new better role that you're gonna have in life. So just like I couldn't start my career then during this Neptune transit, but I kept going through all those through all the detail, through all the imaginings of how I wanted it, and I prepared my soul for moving into this new place of worldly actions in a worldly role, and I became an astrologer at the end of this process. For some of you might be able, even at the early stage of the transit, to move to a different career and to a different vocation which is satisfying to you, but often there will be initially much more longing and a few disappointments, and later on you can proceed to do it. And always whenever whenever Neptune aspects the 10th house, it always affects the 4th house as well, which is the emotional world of the person. So during those transits you'll be much more emotional, because Neptune is a watery planet, and water is to do with emotions. So the person you can have much more mood swings and emotional ups and downs, but much more refined and sensitizing feelings towards others. You can be feeling much more sympathetic and compassionate towards others. And as I said, careers to do with helping others. So actions, worldly actions of charity and helping others are extremely positive during this period, Neptunian period. And the 4th house, which is the opposite of the 10th house, which Neptune always aspects, is also to do with your home and family. So you can relocate, you can move to a different country during a Neptune transit, or you can change places of living. I changed my 4 times during my Neptune transit to the 10th and 4th house. It can dissolve, as I said, the social status of people. So family circumstances can also be dissolved and changed during this period. You might have to let go of a certain family situation that is no longer positive in your life, or that is no longer sustainable, and go to a different one. And because 4th and 10th house, they're very similar in a sense. One is family, the other one is worldly status. So one is place of living, the other one is place of working. And often if one changes a job, they change also place of living. If one has a change of worldly status, this involves his family somehow. It might involve also the property, 4th house is property, so there can be changes to do with your property. Whether it is a positive or negative, it cannot be seen unless your chart is seen. But this is when you have changes in your place of living, in your property, in your home, in your emotional world, inner emotional world, and outer world. 4th house is inner private world, family, parents, and 10th house is outer world, which is career, worldly activities. So these always go hand in hand. So there is change and shift in your consciousness during the Neptune transit in that direction. It wants to loosen the connections to the old, to make you dream for a better, to long for something better and bigger. But even though you might be quite confused during this period, later on, when the circumstances are right, you'll be able to fulfill the new ideals you have. And the last thing that I want to say, 10th and 4th house indicate parental figures, and sometimes Neptune is losses. So for a certain small number of you who have this transit, it might be a period when you're losing a parent, or when you're moving away from parents, when you're moving away from your country. In the worst case scenario is when you lose a parent in the real sense of the word, but it's very rare, maybe in 5 to 10% of people, it's not it's just one of the many possibilities that can happen. But anyway, please share freely your own experiences, what happened in your life when you had Neptune transit. What is the positive that you learned out of the Neptune transit? As I said, always, it's very hard to see the use and the positive transformation of a transit, especially a Neptune transit, while you're going through it in those 2.5 years when the process is happening. One can only be, because people are very subjective during Neptune transit, one can only see the real benefit of it on their emotional growth, on their and on the outer circumstances in their life only after this period is finished, after the emotionalism is gone, so that they can look objectively on the changes. So usually expect to be able to make sense of this transit just a few years after it has passed, just like I'm right now during this period. During that period when it was happening, I was like drinking much more and just drifting and without direction and feeling confused and wanting something bigger and bigger and better, but not knowing how to go about it. So there is a lot of confusion initially about during this process, but eventually I realized that it was only so I can start dreaming about my real vocation and fantasizing about it, which later I made come true. So I wish the same for you, all of you who have this Neptune transit to the 10th and 4th house, 10th house of career and 4th house of inner emotional state and home. Thank you.